Good morning. I'm Stephen Datz, Chair of the Awards Committee. I'll call the September 30th, 2021 Awards meeting to order. We have a physical quorum represented by Joe Orfano, Hai Vu, and Stephen Datz. We also have Todd Skinner filling in as a delegate for Ricky Erickson, joining us via WebEx. I don't believe that Laura Dutton is on the WebEx at this time, but we do have a quorum.
Stephen, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So we also have Laura Dutton joining us on WebEx. The Office of General Counsel is represented by David Miggett. Budget is represented by Stephanie Neely. And before we begin reviewing today's agenda, I'll note that there isn't anyone physically present for public comment. Lynn, is there any public comment received via email?
No public comments.
Okay, I'll pause for a moment for callers joining us on WebEx to unmute and speak up. Okay, hearing no comments, we'll proceed with today's regular agenda. On today's agenda, we have items 1 through 6 that have been reviewed by Procurement and Budget. These items are now ready to be reviewed by the Awards Committee, beginning with item 1, representing the minutes from the September 23rd, 2021 Awards meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to be discussed? Okay, hearing none, may I get a motion to approve award item 1 representing the minutes from September 23rd, 2021?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
Hai Vu, second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved as presented. I'll pass it over to Jenny McCollum, our Chief Procurement Officer, to walk us through each of the remaining items before we ask for a motion.
Thank you, Stephen, through the chair. Award number 2 is a renewal. This is for Industrial Performance Program Services. The intent of this award is for a 1-year renewal. The goal of the JEA Industrial Performance Program is to provide an added value service to employees to support safety and wellness initiatives. The IPP services will be utilized to help prevent any types of future injuries, pre-existing conditions, provide employees a tool for safety enhancement, in addition to providing occupational and at-home education. Unified Health Services is our current awardee, and the recommendation to renew in the amount of $129,600. This was originally a 3-year award with 2 1-year optional renewals. This would be the execution of the first renewal. This was originally approved for a 3-year term with the Awards Committee in September of 2018. I'll just note the original contract required twice-a-week visits at the Southside Service Center, Westside Service Center, Pearl Street Service Center, and Northside Generating Station. And that was a monthly rate of about $10,000, a little under $9,920. An administrative increase was approved back in February of 2020, and that was to add twice-a-week visits to Ridenhour Water Treatment Plant, and that was $880 per month for the remainder of our original term. So now we are coming to the committee to include in the 1-year renewal the additional services. However, we've switched from Ridenhour to Mandarin. So the total for Southside, Westside, Pearl Street, Northside, and Mandarin Water Treatment Plant would be a monthly service fee of $10,800. So I'll pause there and ask if you guys have any questions or comments. Hearing none, I'll pass it back to Stephen for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 2?
Hai Vu, so moved.
Laura Dutton, second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. We had a motion from Hai Vu and a second from Laura Dutton. Jenny, I'll pass it back to you for award item 3.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 3 is a single source award. This is for Northside Generating Station Distributed Control Systems Maintenance Agreement. This request is for a new 3-year maintenance agreement for the boiler and turbine distributed control systems for units, excuse me, units 1 through 3. We are recommending the awardee of ABB Inc. in the amount of $581,580. This is a 3-year award, and it would end in October of 2024. We've got some ABB equipment. So Northside has ABB equipment and maintenance of software for the boiler and the turbine, DCS. This requires routine maintenance and upgrades to keep the hardware and software platforms updated and operating properly. And ABB Control Systems are proprietary platform that can only be served by ABB. So due to that and the verbiage in our procurement code, the supplies and services must be a certain type, brand, make, or manufacturer due to the criticality of the item or compatibility within the JEA utility system. And such supplies and services may not be obtained from multiple sources, such as distributors, making ABB the single source for this product. When we did some comparison to the current maintenance agreement, we looked at the previous 3-year maintenance piece of the contract, and it was valued at about $582,000. So this new agreement price is consistent with our previous pricing. And then ABB has submitted a new 3-year service proposal, which is attached to the package. The service levels are the same for this contract, and just overall, JEA is seeing about a 3% increase on average from that perspective from 2018. I'll note that this provides technical support 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The software maintenance support includes software firmware updates and cybersecurity patches. We've got some increased discounts that we didn't have before, and I won't read through all of those. This one also includes a hardware audit that is included in the proposal. So I will ask Rodney if there was anything I misstated there or any other comments that you would like to make before I pass it to the committee for questions.
No, this is Rodney here. Everything's the same. The only thing I'll note is different is that last time they only gave us a 10%, and this time it's 15%. I think you might have mentioned that, but everything else was fine. Thanks.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I guess this would go probably to Rodney. I know this contract is specific to the boiler and turbine distributed control systems at Northside, but I'm just curious, are we using ABB control systems at other facilities that would require them to be single source?
So off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what all products we have. I mean, there's equipment purchases and some other probably minor software purchases that we make to support systems. But a lot of that is purchased based on spot buys or on an OEM basis.
Okay, thank you.
Stephen,
Is there anyone from
respond.
the business that could help answer that question for Stephen that's on the call?
This is David Byard. As far as the Northside plant, we have ABB Distributed Control Systems. ABB makes all kinds of stuff. To my knowledge, this is the only location in JEA that has that distributed control system.
Okay.
But use something else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if we look in, I'm sorry, this is Rodney here real quick. If we go into Oracle and look, I mean, ABB makes, you know, metal clad switch gear, the transducers and all kinds of products to support controls for plants. A lot of some of that stuff is inventory material and it's purchased on spot buys, and some of it's purchased on contracts where we bid out a certain specific scope, but not particular to this scope of service.
Okay, very good.
But they're CFB, they're circulating
Yeah.
fluidized bed boilers at units 1 and 2, and they're ABB
Exactly.
boilers, so.
I know that we have other ABB control systems, but because of the services and the specifics around this particular award, I think it is unique. I
believe it is.
wanted a sanity check. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
This is
Any other
Hi.
questions?
This is Hi. I have a general question for all of the items. Just want to confirm, you scroll back up. When we refer, because today is the last day of the fiscal year, when we refer this fiscal year, you mean 2021, right? There's a line item, this amount to be awarded this fiscal year. And zero. I'm assuming you mean 2021.
Correct. So the dollar amount would be represented if we had planned to spend any in this fiscal year. Today's the last day of the fiscal year based off of the award date. So you'll see that towards the end of the fiscal year as we start to put contracts together for the next fiscal year. You'll see that as zero, and all the money is intended to be spent in the new fiscal year and forward.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, because we were inconsistent on one of my items, so we'll correct it on the item. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote on award number 3.
All right. May I get a motion to approve award item 3?
So moved.
Joe, so moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Joe Alfano and a second from Todd Skinner. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it back over to you, Jenny, for award item 4.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 4 is an emergency. This is for James Road Emergency Horizontal Directional Drilling Sludge Pipeline Installation. TB Landmark Construction, Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $316,758.76. We'll note that this is a full ratification due to the emergency of the service. This was completed on September 13th of 2021. So back, I'll give you a little history. On March 11th, a third-party contractor was installing a fiber optic cable. The contractor struck a JEA sludge pipeline approximately 22 feet deep below the roadway. That pipeline carried 200,000 gallons of sludge per day from Southwest Water Treatment Facility to Buckman. So consequently, JEA had to shut that pipeline down and start hauling the sludge by truck to Buckman until the new pipe could be installed. So JEA promptly called TB Landmark, who was the contractor that originally installed the force main. They provided an estimate that seemed reasonable, and given their history with JEA, their ability to mobilize quickly, and JEA determined to engage, that it was in the best interest to engage TB Landmark to perform the emergency work. And I'll just note that the work was funded from capital sewer R&R budget line item, but JEA Risk Management has filed a claim with the insurance company of the fiber contractor to recoup the expenses due to the pipe break by the contractor. So I will pass it to the committee for questions. All right, seeing none, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve award item 4?
I move, so moved.
And a second?
Dutton, second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Hai Vu and a second from Laura Dutton. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. Jenny, I'll pass it back over to you for award item 5.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 5 is a renewal, and we also had a small contract increase in here prior to the renewal date starting. So this is a combination of two things, but the services are for bulk ferric chloride supply. So that's the chloride and the sulfate that we use at our wastewater treatment plants. PVS Technologies, Inc. Is the recommended awardee in the amount of $983,708.49. We originally brought this to the awards committee in October of 2019, and this was a 2-year award with 2 optional 1-year renewals. The awards committee would be approving the first 1-year renewal option, and then we also needed to add funds to the contract in order to address the increased usage of this wastewater chemical, and it was due to the increase in effluent phosphorus leading to the formation of struvite. I'm probably saying that, I'm butchering that. Thank you. So when looking at the renewal, we're looking at increasing the usage from about 1,150 gallons per day to 1,000 or 1,700 gallons per day. The price is going up with the renewal. They've been fixed for the first 2 years of the contract, and we are allowing a price increase of 3.76% due to the raw material and transportation costs that we're seeing in the market. However, when we compare this to the consumer price index, right now it's at 4.2%. So they've actually asked for a smaller increase than CPI at this time. So we have deemed that reasonable and would like to move forward with the 1-year renewal. They've been performing well. Business is happy. I'll pass it to the committee to see if you guys have any questions or comments.
This is Hi. Just a quick comment. Although we don't have any issues with the company, it is close to $1 million in O&M expenses each year for the chemical. So the wastewater team is looking for other means to control the phosphorus and the struvite formation. So hopefully within a couple of years we won't have to use this chemical anymore and save the annual O&M expense.
Wonderful. Do you want us to add a note into the award write-up about that, or leave it as is?
Oh, you can leave it as is. Just a general comment for the team.
Okay, wonderful.
And just one more comment. And staff was way ahead of me. They already corrected that while it's the award. They noticed it was the amount for fiscal year 22. So way ahead of me. So thank you.
They're a good team.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 5?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
How do you second?
We have a motion from Joe Orfano and a second from Hai Vu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. Jenny, I'll pass it back over to you for award item 6.
Wonderful. This is our last award, award number 6. This was an invitation to negotiate, and this is for our JEA light and medium duty vehicles. So we originally went out to solicit pricing for 80 vehicles within multiple different classes, mostly for FY22 and some for FY23 fleet capital requirements. This is for the electric, let's change that word from energy to electric, and water department. So we went out during the solicitation process, and we only received one bid. And out of the 8 different groupings, we only received 3 prices for 3 of the groupings from Duval Ford. So during the invitation to negotiate process, we decided, just due to what's going on in the current market, to go ahead and open just the one bid, see what they had presented, and finish going through the process with this one vendor to see what we could accomplish through this solicitation. What we have found when we opened it was that there were, quite a few holds and only a partial submittal. So we did some evaluating with them. We talked with them and have decided that we believe it's in the best interest to move forward with those 3 groupings. And what that would bring the award total to would be $3,264,858. That would replace 4 units on the electric side, 23 units on the water replacement side, and then we would be expanding for vehicles on the water side as well. I want to give you guys a little bit of background as to what we did from a procurement perspective, just based off of feedback during the solicitation process. We had talked to, some of the vendors, and during the process, we did a few things to try to eliminate some of the risk on the vendor side to try to increase competition. So we reduced the cap on the LDs from 10% to 5% of the total contract value, and we modified the structure of the LDs to measure the portion of work that the respondent could solely be responsible for. So that would be, placing the order timely, and then however long it takes for the current market to, get them that vehicle, we would stop our liquidated damages during that time. And then once they receive the vehicle on site, we would give them 90 days to deliver it to us at New Kings Road. So the idea behind that was to take out the uncertainty of the market. We're getting more and more feedback from our fleet vendors that things keep getting pushed out just due to market conditions and not being able to get the chips and different reasons that we are getting behind on our current FY21 deliveries. And so we were trying to take those factors out and just let them control what they can control. So we did all of this via an addendum prior to bid opening, and we still only got one bid. So all that being said, we would like to move forward with awarding the 3 groupings. We've got at least, some teeth in the contract. They're willing, that they're willing to move forward with. But for the groupings that we didn't receive pricing on, I'll just note that groupings 1 and 2, we are going to be sourcing through the Florida Sheriff's Association contract. They're smaller, they're at informal pricing, and we believe that it's just in the best interest to get those vehicles procured timely by using pricing that the FSA can already, offer. Groupings 3 and 5, we are exploring an alternative sourcing strategy further than what we already did on this bid to, help structure the bid, given just the current market complexities. Some of those would be, we are finding that our lead times are moving out, and so getting these in timely is important. So we are, we're going to change. We've gotten all the information we need from the vendor base at this point. So an ITN doesn't necessarily make sense. So we're going to switch that to an IFB to try to get these done more quickly. We reduced the LDs from $100 a day to $35 a day per vehicle. We reduced the cap, again, as modified in this solicitation. We'll reduce that from 10 to 5. of the total contract cost. We eliminated the hard dates of delivery as we modified in this solicitation that you're seeing now. So when we go back out, we will further try to reduce the risk to the vendor from a 90-day delivery after they receive it on their lot to 120 days. And then we revised some language on the LD lighting and tow hooks as optional to upfitting. We've got some feedback that sometimes that's, I guess, more difficult for them to be able to fulfill. So if they can't, we would allow them to not do that part as well. So some changes, additional changes are coming. We're going to try that with these groupings and see what we get. And if we don't get any competition or any bids, then we'll go to the FSA contract for the rest of these. The FSA contract's it's a little bit harder for us if they give you base prices and then we do upfittings. And so you really only get the price of the base contract, the base truck, and then you have to add on all these options. And so those are kind of more from a negotiation standpoint. It's not ideal. We don't like to do that, but we certainly can do that and use those contracts if we find that the market just isn't supporting what we're trying to accomplish. I'll also just note Group 6, those were for Chevrolets. Chevy closed their ordering window for FY22 earlier than prior years. And so what we're doing for that is we are converting those over to Ford F-Series. And so we're going to put those out to bid as well with the changes in the solicitation that we've mentioned and see what we find at that point. So I think, we're doing what we can on our side. The market continues to be a challenge. So, we looked at the pricing that did come in for the three groupings that we would like to award. We saw a 17% increase, and what we've done is we've compared those to the purchases and the pricing we received in FY19 and 20 for the FY20 and 21 purchases. That's where we've seen the most change in the market. So we were trying to get a good comparison there of what we were paying. Some of the assets we've not purchased before, and so we couldn't compare pricing. So that 17% only compares an apples to apples comparison of what we've bought most recently in the last couple of years. Feedback we've gotten from the OEMs is, the previous incentives for government purchases have been suspended. And so, that is likely to return in the future, but we just don't know when, we'll be able to start getting more participation and the OEMs getting incentives to try to give us better pricing. So I know that's a lot. This is an award that was had a lot of information, but wanted to give you guys kind of all the background for you to be able to make an informed decision. So I'll ask the committee if you guys have any questions or comments.
So what's the bottom line? Are we going to be okay without fleet for 22 if, assuming that we can get everything done, will we still be short, or how would we deal with a shortage if that happens? If we can't match the rest of it.
Right. So we are hitting the street within likely the next week or so, no later than mid-October with the other ones to see what we get. Those will be as quick a turnaround time as possible with the ISB. So we should have a better understanding of the results of that close to the beginning of November, and then we could make some more informed decisions about what our next steps are. I don't know if the business wants to chime in or if Kenny wants to chime in on kind of the second part of that question, but I think we might just not be able to retire our assets as planned and keep those and, until we can get caught up in the market and these orders. So likely higher maintenance costs, but we would still have the vehicles on site. Did I say that correctly, guys?
Exactly. It's you know, we have a set schedule that we try to, you know, based upon increasing O&M costs of maintaining the vehicles in their later years. And that replacement schedule is, you know, taken into account. And what we'll end up doing is we'll just push that out. And that's what we're having to encounter with even on these next solicitations, you know, with orders being pushed out because of microchips or, you know, on the Chevy Bolts, it's their battery issues or any of those types of things. You know, we're pushing out the retirement of assets and utilizing the assets longer than we had originally planned to counter that. And when we, you know, give on this next scenario, we'll be giving suppliers 120 days to be able to upfit the trucks once they get them. So we're going out further and further. So we're going to be we'll have to be more nimble in our ability to move finances around from year to year, roll over, you know, funds from year to year and things along those lines, pull shorter lead time things up, you know, just to be able to navigate the market. And that's how we'll end up doing it to make sure that everybody has the correct assets. The expansion will be one of those things we'll have to navigate on a case-by-case basis, though.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny. And so for FY23, what will we be doing differently? And, you know, we realize that Chevrolet closed the window early. Do we know when? And for 23, is that going to change? Are we going to be?
Yeah, so 23 is an interesting. So these are light and medium duty. So we were actually planning on having some of these assets deliver in early 23. Those will obviously, if they get delayed, they just go further and further into 23. Here shortly, we're going to be releasing out FY 23's, essentially all the solicitations for all FY 23. Get further and further ahead. We used to be on light and medium duties 6 to 8 months is when we were doing solicitations. Now we're a year in advance of when they would need to come in, and suppliers still aren't hitting the mark. So, you know, to think the light and duties have extended out 6 to 8 months, and light and heavy duties have pushed out from what they were a few years ago, the same 6 to 8 months. So, you know, a 12-month became an 18 to 20-month type of solicitation process. So we're just ordering earlier and earlier in the process to be able to hit those marks. So for the FY23, we're just starting solicitations earlier and earlier. And this was just a small portion of the stuff that we couldn't hit in 22 that we're doing in 23. We'll probably here soon be doing all of 23's solicitations for every single asset. And probably maybe getting into 24.
That's helpful. Yeah, this is Joe, Kenny. Are there any other state agencies that we can piggyback? I'm kind of curious that we've hooked up with the Sheriff's Association, but are there any other state entities that we can piggyback?
Yeah, we have. So we've piggybacked off the state of Florida. We've done. There was another entity called Sourcewell that we've piggybacked off of in the past. There's a few others that are out there that we have piggybacked. Historically, we have done, because we do buy a sizable amount of assets when we're buying them, and then a lot of ours are specialized. So, you know, vacuum trucks, aerial bucket trucks, those just are not on any of those types of contracts. But when you get into the more common types of commodities, we've done pretty well on light, medium duty vehicles on doing our own. We'll usually, you know, outpace any of those piggyback types of agreements whenever we're buying things like a single Kubota excavator or a single Bobcat or something along those lines. It's hit or miss. So what we'll typically do is we will compare what our solicitation did or our quotes do against an FSA to see which one's the best path forward. But there are a few other ones that we do look at. But when we go that path with the FSA or state of Florida or Sourcewell or any of those ones, or GSA, we've done GSA before.
Yeah.
Any of those types of solicitations, they don't have any of those timelines for when a supplier has to deliver. And we have to negotiate all that up front and try to do what we hope is in the best interest of JEA and not get into one of these scenarios where they say they're going to deliver in September and then it becomes October. And having to figure out the
I think too, where their FSA is going through, I believe, a sourcing event right now to get current market pricing, right? I mean, just because a lot of times what Kenny was saying too is you might be able to see and work with a vendor and get that pricing, but then we're also having to negotiate when they're going to be due and the upfittings that we like to specialize the vehicles the way that the business unit is requesting. So there's a lot that goes into the piggybacks, and it is, we have more teeth in our contracts, if you will, with LDs and such, but we're looking at all options to make sure that we are making the decisions in the best interest of JEA.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And one other thing I note, suppliers were giving us feedback, as part of those FSA bids, that they're reluctant this year to sign the FSAs, and that's because the OEMs themselves are not giving carryover year pricing. And what that means is, if they're signing it this year, they'll say that, well, this is the price for fiscal year 22 model year vehicles. So they're 22 model year. But if you're placing an order late 22, you're probably going to be into a 23 model year. If the OEMs won't carry over the same pricing from 22 into 23, a lot of these vendors are stating that they may not be bidding these state contracts anymore because of the OEM's reluctance to give that carryover pricing between model years. So we haven't seen the results of those solicitations yet, but that's something that went into a lot as well, because they're concerned about what's going to happen in those extra years with regards to inflation and things like that.
That's a good point. Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate the dialogue on that. May I get a motion to approve award item 6?
I would so move.
And a second?
Joe Orfano, second.
All right, we have a motion from Hai Vu and a second from Joe Orfano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. The entire agenda is approved for September 30th, 2021. Is there any other business to come before the awards committee at this time? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.